Jannik Sinner started off 2024 by winning the Australian Open Championship. Then it was Carlos Alcaraz who won the second major championship of the year by winning the French Open. What's up, everybody? It's John Arapola here to look at the next two majors this year, the Wimbledon Championships coming up in just a few weeks here. Then, of course, the U.S. Open Championships taking place in the later part of the tennis season in September and late August, early September there. And it's going to be a fun rest of the year here in tennis. Let's see who joins Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz as the other major champions this year. We'll start with Wimbledon. This one's up close, and this is a way early out prediction, too, for Wimbledon, because we still have a few grass tournaments to get to before we get to the Wimbledon Championships, and we see what the draws are and what have you. But looking at it face value, it's going to come down to two guys here, in my personal opinion, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz. We'll start with Alcaraz, last year's champion. He, of course, beating Novak Djokovic in a 5-set thriller, a match that's probably going to live on forever in Wimbledon history. It was so fun to watch, so back and forth, so much drama within the course of that matchup as Alcaraz wins that championship, and now Alcaraz, too, being the youngest player to win major championships on clay, on grass, and on the hard courts. He's won, obviously, now 3 major championships. He's 3-0 in major finals. He's going to be a tough out in this year's Wimbledon Championship. But Jannik Sinner is playing very, very well this year. He is the world number one. He's been the most consistent player on tour all this year. And you make the case that he's been the best player on tour all year. Now, last year in Wimbledon, he had a great run. He made it all the way to the semifinals, losing to Novak Djokovic in 4 sets in their semifinal matchup. And Sinner looked very good. And that was sort of kind of a little bit of a coming out party. We actually know that the run that he did in the later part of the year after the U.S. Open Championships, that was the first time we really saw Jannik Sinner make a run in a major championship. And now we know that he has what it takes to make these sorts of runs in these major championships, as he won the Australian Open earlier this year. Now, both of these guys have been banged up a little bit throughout the course of 2024 so far. We saw Alcaraz wearing that sleeve on his arm throughout the French Open Championship. We saw Jannik Sinner having some hip issues, not knowing if he was even going to participate in the French. Ended up going very far in the French Open, losing a 5-set match to Carlos Alcaraz in the semifinals. The way these two guys are playing this year, being that's going to be on this grass surface that isn't necessarily everybody's bread and butter, I think that these two guys are going to have a very good shot of winning this year's Wimbledon Championship. As far as the prediction goes, I know you go either way. It's like flipping a coin. I'm going to go with Jannik Sinner to win this year's Wimbledon Championship just because of how great he's been playing, how consistent he's been playing all year, but would not be surprised if the coin flipped the other way and Alcaraz were to win it. But for the sake of the argument, going to go with Jannik Sinner here. Then you have the U.S. Open. This one's a little bit more interesting. You could go the Sinner-Alcaraz route, or you can maybe even go a different route like a Daniil Medvedev or an Alexander Zverev. Obviously, Medvedev winning the U.S. Open before, Zverev losing a 5-set match in the finals to Dominic Thiem. So when you look at this one, you kind of have like those 4 guys out there. Then not to even, you got to, of course, remember too about Novak Djokovic is going to be coming back from an injury and whatnot. So a lot of different guys, U.S. Open to put in the mix here. But for me, when I look at it, I want to pull the trigger and say Carlos Alcaraz is going to win this year's U.S. Open. Or, obviously you make the case for Jannik Sinner as well there. But I'm going to go with Daniil Medvedev here. Medvedev going to be on his best surface on the hard courts. He's won it before. He's way too talented of a player to only have 1 major championship. He, of course, lost 2 5-setters in the Australian Open, losing to Rafa Nadal 5 sets in 2022, losing 5 sets this year to Jannik Sinner. I don't know. Something about it. I want to see a feel-good story to end the year out. So I'm going to go with Daniil Medvedev to win that U.S. Open Championship. But, I mean, that one is just so hard to predict. I don't have that crystal ball. That's so far away yet. We're going to have a few big hardcourt matchups and tournaments in the lead up to that. That'll give us some more clarity. But for the time being, right now, looking at this big picture going long term, I think it's going to be Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz battling it out for this year's Wimbledon Championship. Then U.S. Open, a lot of names in play there. You can make the case for Alcaraz, make the case for Sinner. But I'm going to go the feel-good story and go with Daniil Medvedev winning another major championship.